me processing in real time the most valuable, simpatico, kismet, and just overall soul-hugging meeting with my mentor that I have ever had in my life. We talked about so many things. I have scattered notes all over the page. So you're welcome in advance, but also this is for me in like 6 months to revisit if I can read my own handwriting. Forgetting about whether or not people like the stuff that I make, and instead thinking about whether it is useful or not and whether people understand it are much more valuable than caring about whether or not people like the things that I do. Do they understand it and is it useful? He recommended that I start reading and watching African cinema and folklore because he felt like the way that Peeling is written is very aligned with the relationship to time that African folks have more so than Western cultures. I'm really excited to do that. I have been making an active effort to read less works by Caucasian folks just because there are sort of story dynamics and story flow things that don't necessarily agree with the way that I want to tell stories. So I needed to give myself more options. He gave me an idea for a very awesome transition that I'm not going to talk about here. I also spoke to him a lot about how I'm currently struggling and have always struggled with how I want to show up in industry proper. I have worked in development, I've worked on the traditional media side, I've also worked in branded, and I'm also actively pursuing my own independent career, and I have been for ever. But I have been struggling with how I want to actually show up in this industry, whether I want to do this internet thing, whether I want to put my eggs in the traditional media basket and rely on the powers that be to move things forward in a more legitimate way, because I don't feel like internet-based media has been legitimized to the same level, even though I feel like it should be. He basically kept it very simple and said, if I want to engage with the industry proper, then I should engage with the industry proper. You can't show up halfway to the industry, and that's something that I definitely know from a POV of working in development and wanting to do the executive thing. But as a filmmaker and as an artist, I've been struggling with how in do I want to be, or how out do I want to be. We also talked a lot about how I feel like the work that I do, specifically Peeling, but the work that I do and want to do, I know that the people who are like me and look like me and think like me and have similar backgrounds to me will understand what it is I'm saying. And what I'm not so sure about is whether or not the people who I feel like are a part of the dominant culture will understand what I'm trying to say or do, and if the film will reach them the way that I wanted to. The amount of grant applications that I've done for Peeling and not gotten, and the feedback that I receive is the basis of they just didn't quite understand where they were at any given moment. That feedback breaks my heart because I spent so much time specifically crafting the story the way that it is. But anytime a person of color has read Peeling, I'm talking about well-respected filmmakers as well, they have absolutely loved everything about the structure and totally get it and can really loop back to me what I was trying to do and what they understand from the story. So it sucks that the powers that be that control a lot of funding for things don't always necessarily align with the most expansive thought. He encouraged me to stand firm. I sort of need to decide what's more valuable to me, being really hitting people like me in the heart with a story like this, or getting people who are not like me to actually engage and understand and reflect. He encouraged me to not try to do a million projects at once, which is something I'm definitely guilty of. We also talked a lot about how I struggle with praise. It's really difficult for me to just accept at face value that someone likes my work, and I'm always seeking feedback and critique, and sometimes it just doesn't exist, and I get really suspicious when critique doesn't exist. He said that, you know, it's a normal thing to feel. It just sounds like I'm an artist. He also said that this is the journey of being an artist, and this is the work. This is the life of being an artist, and mastery sometimes never comes. Lastly, he told me that the most important 3 things that have shaped him as a director and as a storyteller and as an artist is being clear and having clarity but not being obvious. Being clear of what I want to say but not being obvious with it. He encouraged me to borrow from other artists, specifically actors. And lastly, he said that I should be engaging with people who are doing other mediums. I engage with a lot of work of different mediums, but I don't like sit in the room and like gab, which is what I'm doing here, which I should be doing this with other artists. It's the digital world, so let's gab on here. Finding a group of people and groups of people of different mediums who I can just gab with and talk about ideas and not finish thoughts and sit in a room and color or something. Directing is not about the first viewing, it's about the second viewing, and essentially about giving the audience the gift of hindsight. Carry them along this ride that they have no idea where they're going the first time, getting to the end, and then them being able to return to it and actually understand how each element fed into the next. Doing something so engaging that causes people to question it and want to go back and investigate is something I definitely want to do with my work. Like I said, it was a great conversation. I love mentorship, I love feedback, I love critique, and this is one of the first times ever that someone has actually just like sat with my work and sort of told me what it is and told me what they're getting from it. And it has been in full alignment of exactly what I've mulled over for the last 5 or so years while I was writing the thing. I continue to mull over every little detail as I complete it. Get a mentor that you trust, and I have to thank the Black Genius Foundation Fellowship for this one for sure.